everybody, and welcome to Sip and Chat with the ConnectHERS. Mel and Mel are your hosts, and we are so excited. And we have Heather Cannings with us tonight. We have our January theme, which is all about interactive experiences, aka events. And recently, Heather and I connected with regards to the StrikeUP Canada Conference, and I was like, I think you might be a really good fit for our January Sip and Chat to talk about events, because you guys do some really badass stuff with the StrikeUP Conference. And you are so eager to do this and so open. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Heather. I know being here in the evening, it takes your time. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to be here. So we will get kind of started. Let me just introduce Heather, I guess. So let's see, where am I? I got to scroll up. Heather Cannings. She is a very passionate advocate for women entrepreneurs and a strategic leader. She is the Women Entrepreneurship Program and StrikeUP lead at Nventure, which is formerly known as NCFDC. Don't try to say that 3 times fast, because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to work.
And Heather has played a very pivotal role in curating their annual StrikeUP Canada Conference event, which is actually happening next month on February 27th, FYI, for everybody who is watching. Heather, I am so curious to know, how did you get to being where you are now in this type of role? I'm curious to see what that path looked like for you, because this is an incredible position, like a really great opportunity.
It sure is.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here, and I love what the two of you are doing. So I appreciate you having me here tonight. And to be honest, I'm kind of happy it's in the evening, because now my husband's watching my toddler upstairs, and I can hear her having a little freak out, and I'm not having to deal with it. So.
You get to sit here and have a little chit chat and drink your wine.
That's right.
Exactly. So okay, how did I get here? So this role is something I never really saw for myself in my future. So I actually went to university for criminology and psychology. So I started my career actually working in a courthouse in Ottawa. So I was working for this really incredible not-for-profit program that helped support people who were experiencing criminality, like minor crimes for the first time, and helping them deflect from those so that they wouldn't get a charge, and helping them kind of move in the proper direction. So
cool.
It was really, really a great experience. There was other programs where I worked with actually street level sex workers to help them as humans navigate life, trauma, all of that stuff. I absolutely loved it. And I realized like working with people was what I really wanted to do. And I felt like I was making a difference. So next jump was to a role where I was working as a risk analyst, actually, at a tech and service company. So I was doing like fraud audits for claims that people were putting in where they would get money when they didn't necessarily, they weren't deemed fit for the program rules. Yeah. So I was actually working with law enforcement agencies in Canada and the States to kind of apprehend those people that were submitting fraudulent claims. It taught me a lot. I really grew professionally in that role, but it just didn't feel right. Like it was doing the opposite of what I ever meant to do. So while it taught me so much, I realized it was just time to kind of take an entire step back. I quit the job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a job for a bit. And I landed on finding this position at the organization I'm at now. So Nventure. So it's a not-for-profit organization that helps support entrepreneurship. So they do loans and grants and all of that good stuff. So it was actually a 6-month contract as just a program administrator. So I was like, that's perfect. It's like a reset, fresh reset. I can go in, do my job, won't be too difficult, go home. I'm not carrying the weight of the world, it feels like, on my shoulders.
Yeah.
It was really great. And it was working. The reason I took it is it was working on a grant program that was to support specifically women entrepreneurs during COVID. So we helped over 400 women-owned businesses during COVID. So it was supposed to help them funding to everything from like getting those plexiglass things they needed up in their businesses and hand sanitizers and getting them on e-commerce because people couldn't go into their stores. And it was helping keep those businesses open, which a lot of them probably would have died out during COVID.
Right.
That was the way of the world then. And it was honestly like women-owned businesses were the ones that were most impacted during that time. It's a lot of service-based businesses, retail, things like that. And that program that I worked on, I loved it so much. It gave me like a new sense of like true accomplishment at the end of the day. So that 6-month contract turned into, I've now been there for 5 years now. It's really exciting. So now I've moved kind of into, yeah. It definitely wasn't what I saw happening. But it was a really great kind of surprise for me. So that same organization, we run StrikeUP, the conference that I work on now. I now lead all of the women entrepreneurship programs that we have. So I'd always worked on StrikeUP kind of in the back end using my data analytics and setting up processes and procedures, but I was never the front person. So when that role came up, it was kind of a natural move for me, which at first I found to be a little bit uncomfortable, just because I've always seen myself as kind of like a behind the scenes person. I'm a doer, like I'm a doer, right? I'm not necessarily like a face of a program or anything like that. Or I didn't think I could be or would be. But now I get the opportunity to connect with like powerhouse women entrepreneurs every day. I hear their stories. They're so inspiring how they step out of their comfort zones. And it's kind of inspired me to do the same. So I'm so glad that this is kind of where my journey has led. I mean, at one point, I even thought I was going to be a correctional officer. I was through the training, all the interview process, all of that stuff. The last step I had to do was the physical testing, and I tore my knee the week before, so I couldn't do it. But now I think back and
holy like message from the universe, eh? Like
that was a sign.
Yeah, that was like, I think now, and I'm like, I would have hated that. That's so against really like what I think. Yeah, that was like, the best, worst thing that ever happened. But
something similar happened to me too. It was about 5 years ago, just before I started working for the not-for-profit organization that I now work for. But I had gotten my insurance to sell license. So I like put this money and I went into 6 months and I did the studies and I like aced everything. And then I was in my training and then I got diagnosed with a heart condition. And I'm like, I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. And then 2 months later, I started my job with my not-for-profit organization that I work for as a contracted supporting women entrepreneurs as well. I've been there for 5 years, and it is same like what you said. It is the most rewarding thing I have ever done probably in my entire career.
Yeah. I mean, working for a not-for-profit that was always important to me. And it can be very difficult at times. I'm sure some like they're very underfunded, so you can be wearing 1,000 different hats. I'm sure so it can be very, very taxing, but it's worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah. 100%. It's about the people that we get to help, right? So you haven't really had a whole lot of event planning experience before you stepped into this position.
No, but it's funny. My friends and family always told me I should be in event planning because I was the first person anyone would go to if they needed a baby shower planned, a bachelorette planned, because I was so detail oriented about every little thing. I'm like, well, the napkins need to match, and you need to have these little goodie bags because they're fun and they match the theme. And I always had a spreadsheet for everything. And so, I mean, it wasn't in my professional background, but people still make fun of me. I've got like a storage in my basement of all, like, if you need 20 pieces for some reason that match, I have them. I don't know why.
That's you. Mel's got all the glitter.
I'm with you.
The garage is like
glitter is everywhere. Like my sons
friends
are
are like,
oh my God. more glitter can there possibly be? And then for some reason it all tramples in again, and they're like, where is this coming from? I'm like, I don't even know anymore. It just shows up. But I'm like you, like sometimes these, it's an interest that you're using, and you like planning these things. It's fun. And then it sort of leads you into a different direction that you didn't think was gonna lead you in. I was a law clerk for 17 years. So a similar background. We both worked in this area. But when I decided to start taking time off to be with my kids, I ended up running our nutritional program at our kids' school. And I did that for 8 years. But that also included all these parties, all these barbecues for 500 kids. Like, it was constant. And you're a volunteer, but it was just so great to see those kids. Like, you are a rock star when you're walking into their class with marshmallows and chocolate. Like, there's nothing that's better than that, right? So I totally understand. And the bins I have in my garage, it's ridiculous. People call and they're like, oh, I'm having a luau. Do you have any decorations? I do have those decorations. What do you need? Let me help you with that. You're the same, right?
Same person.
It's so fun. I just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Anyway.
It was like, even last weekend, my friend was like, oh, if she was having her daughter's birthday party, and she was like, oh, I thought I was going to be able to get tablecloths and napkins of this color. She's like, you don't have them, do you? And I was like, let me check this stuff. Just you hold on. Pull it out. I have the exact color that she needs. I'm like, well, what else do you need? Do you need, like, what do you need? What do you need? Platters?
I got matching stuff.
I love that, though. I love that they go to you, because it's the best feeling, right? Because then you could turn around to your husband and be like, see, there's a reason why we keep all of this stuff, right? Like, we can use that against that issue.
I'm like, you stay out of that part of the basement. That is my party basement. That is my party central.
That's your area. That's right. I'm with you. Well, we are
That's
really grateful
funny.
that you landed in this role, because look at what you're doing. Like, it's an incredible role for you. Do you work with? Is there a big team that you have to work with on a daily basis? Like, in planning this event specifically?
My team is actually very small. Again, not for profit.
Yes.
My team itself is very, very small. We do have a vendor that we use as a production team that helps us with tech sides, and they help us with recordings and all of that good stuff. So I work with them. But my day-to-day is working directly with who are going to be our speakers. And we do a lot with sponsors. So they help keep the event free. So I feel like I work with big teams. But internally it's a small team that keeps us going.
That's probably a good thing, though, right? Like, everybody kind of has their roles, and by going outside of that realm, the contacts you're making is probably just incredible. I can only imagine how many outside hands are involved in taking care of something like this.
Yeah. And my hands are in literally every single aspect of StrikeUP, which I think is important. So there's no little tiny detail that I don't have my hands on or know about or have implemented myself, which is a source of pride for me. It does add to my level of stress sometimes, but that's okay.
Sound familiar, Melissa? I know.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can relate 100% to that. I'm a retired event planner, so I actually worked out in BC at a golf resort, and I was an event planner out there. And I was always doing the golf tournaments, the weddings, the banquets, all of the things. And after that experience, I was like, I think I'm done. And then 5 years later, what do? I go and start a business helping people plan events, because I'm a sucker and I know that it's I'm good at it, and people appreciate the help. So I'm like, well, okay, I'll do it. Or, I'm just always jumping in there. But then I start and I'm like, why did I do this? I don't want to do this anymore.
Hey, and what are we doing now? We're planning events.
Now we're planning events. The one thing I'm like, we're not planning events, Mel. We're not. We're going to be simple. We're going to keep it online. There we are now. We have a talk show.
Here we are.
So The StrikeUP Canada Conference is a big event, and what's unique about it is that it's a hybrid experience. So
Yeah.
can you share perhaps any of the challenges that you've had to overcome in creating such a large-scale, versatile, hybrid experience where you're taking into consideration audiences from so many different places, and maybe perhaps how, we'll start with there. Any challenges you've come across?
Oh, the challenges. How much time do we have? I'm just
We
kidding.
still have 45 minutes.
They're like planning two entirely different events. So to give you a little bit of context, so last year let's step back a second. So StrikeUp is typically just a virtual event. So that is our bread and butter. But last year we worked directly with our sponsors who hosted live viewing parties. So I was hands-on planning every single event, including booking caterers, all of that stuff on parties across the country. That became unmanageable. And I think the system just didn't work as well as it could have, because it was StrikeUp that was inviting those people to those local events where we aren't in person. So what we've done this year is reached out to community partners, and those partners are now hosting and creating their own entire events, just like you guys are doing with StrikeUp, which I think is important because you know your local clientele. Those people are more likely to actually attend those events because they have a connection to you. And you know what those people want, right? So the challenges with hybrid are drastic. And what I've done this year is try to step back a little bit with the hybrid state. And I think, although my hands aren't on it as much, and that's difficult for me just as a person, I truly think it's the best format, because we're seeing what different organizations, different women entrepreneurs are doing, planning their own events to gather women together and creating their own opportunities to stream this event. I think it's really, really cool. Like what you guys are doing. You're streaming part of the event, you're doing the talk show, filming. I think it's awesome. Like, that's great. I think this is exactly how StrikeUp viewing parties should be done. And I appreciate our partners. Like, without our partners, this wouldn't be possible. Like I said, we are a not-for-profit. I'm based in Cobourg, Ontario. I don't have offices across the country where I've got staff that can help me. So I really have to rely on other people across the country that are looking and have the same vision as we do to support women entrepreneurs. But there's different considerations for sure.
Right. That is such a smart way to do it, though, because when you think about it, you're creating these relationships all across the country. You're alleviating some of the work, the task load off of yourself, so you can actually focus on the part of the event that you need to focus on without being too overwhelmed. And it just can exponentially grow StrikeUp Canada's audience by doing it in this way, because everybody's sharing, everybody's talking. So it's such a smart way to do it, as opposed to trying to do all of the things all on your own, worrying about the tech, worrying about this, worrying about that. I think it's such a great concept, and it's working. And we are so grateful to be hosting the viewing party and doing something, because I was talking to one of our supporters today, and this is something different. Like, North Bay hasn't really done anything quite like this before. It's usually like, here's a speaker, here's a workshop, here's a gift bag, and bye-bye, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that if we were going to do this, we were going to do something kind of different, something interesting, and this was such a perfect fit. So we're super excited about that. What about any successes? Do you have a memorable success story from this? You're like, oh yeah, I do.
I mean, we have so many. So this year will be our 5th year for StrikeUp. So we've had some incredible women entrepreneurs that have been on the StrikeUp virtual stage over the years. And we've seen so many of them who have reached out to us afterwards and been like, the jump in activity for my business after StrikeUp was incredible, because we want to pump them up as much as possible. Like, we're so happy to have them share their message with us. And we work with our sponsors are really, really great and are important to us. They're all focused on entrepreneurship. That's key for us. So they're not selling anything, but they want to help support women entrepreneurs. So we've seen some of our past speakers that have now worked with our sponsors, and they're doing really great things together. They're partnering up and doing really, really cool things. One story too from a viewing party that was hosted in Winnipeg one year. They told me this year actually that the group of women that met there still meet up on a monthly basis. Every single one of them meet up on a monthly basis, and they just talk about their business. They brainstorm. They try to help each other with their problems. Like, I just heard that last week, and I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's what these events are supposed to do. Yeah. I was like, I almost came to tears. I was like, that is amazing. That is incredible. And one of the other things, this is probably going to sound kind of funny, but my mom is an entrepreneur. So she's a huge fan of the event. She might be a little bit biased there, but that's fine.
That's what moms are supposed to be, though.
She talks all year long about, she's like, I met X at StrikeUP and now we meet for coffees, or I met Y at the conference and we have like virtual meetups all the time. We talk about our businesses. She says like the networking opportunities, you, especially virtually, you get that opportunity to meet people locally and you get to meet people from across the country. So it's really, really incredible. She said like the group networking forced her out of like her comfort zone, but being behind a computer screen helped a little bit rather than being in person. She felt she could like share her story a little bit, like more her challenges. She didn't feel as anxious as she may have in an in-person kind of networking situation. But yeah, I mean, that's a silly little story from my mom, but I'm sure there's plenty of those.
I love it.
I love that though. I think she's right though too, right? Is that like for myself, I'm 51 and we're starting this business, and I always say to Melissa, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. Like I'm not one to go up and speak in front of people, to be on a camera or to be interviewed, and I'm like thrust right in it. And you're right. Like, as soon as you start though, and you meet the right people, I think the connections are made, and your stress levels really come down, and you feel way more comfortable. You know, you're not so worried about the judgment or being vulnerable anymore, because you're meeting people that have something like a common interest with you. And it takes a little time, but I had mentioned to Melissa that was one of the best things that I liked about StrikeUP, was the fact that everybody I met was just so kind and they were so nice, and all from Canada. So they kind of understand where we're coming from or what we're doing. It's difficult when you're talking to people from that are mixed from the United States, because it's not the same. Everything is not the same, right? But the other thing that I really liked about it being like a hybrid event, and I participated virtually, was like, in comparison to going to an in-person event. Melissa and I went to one this past spring, and we found it really hard. Like, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Like, you know, we walked into a space where we didn't know anybody, but we weren't, I think that it's not as open as a result, because everybody's kind of got their own space. But when you're in there virtually, you know, you're kind of thrust in and you have to say something, because, you know, they're waiting for you to introduce yourself. So I love that you have figured it out, because a lot of people aren't ready for the in-person stuff, or that's just not their comfort zone. But I can leave and feel about it and happy that I've made contacts. So I think that's really great.
I mean, I can really resonate with that myself, as being someone that's attended conferences. I'm very much an introvert. Like, the networking piece of a conference makes me want to throw up. Like, I'm like, I freeze up. I'm like, what's my name? I don't even know what my name is.
I don't even know. Why am I here? I don't know.
Exactly. So this year, one of the key things I think we've implemented is some really cool features that I think are going to help people that really want to connect and network that may be a little hesitant to do so. So this year we've got some cool features, like we've got a matchmaking AI kind of tool. So attendees can fill in a short survey and then they'll see like a list of like who ranks that's there today with like similar interests. And it's like an easy icebreaker.
Cool.
So you can see like, instead of just cold sending somebody a DM on the platform and you've got nothing to break barriers on, you can be like, hey, we connected on a bunch of different stuff. I see like there's ways to break the ice there.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, like I'm excited for that one. I think I would feel much more comfortable doing some cold outreach to people if I knew off the bat I had something in common with them more than just being a women entrepreneur for general.
That's right.
That's awesome. That should be like everywhere. That should be like on LinkedIn, and like these are the people you need to like connect with, follow them, engage with these people. Right? That would be what a great way to incorporate AI solutions into the event too.
Yeah, it really puts you on top of everything. That's fantastic. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, well, that's exciting then. That'll be a new feature. I look forward to that.
I'm excited about it. And so we've always had group networking rooms as well during our networking breaks, which are cool. So what they kind of look like are Zoom rooms. So you can have 25 people at a time on video. But for some people that can feel very overwhelming and they're not going to be one to maybe try to pipe up in a conversation where somebody may be heavily leading that conversation. So we're creating kind of like group discussion boards this year as well. So people can join just via chat. Some people may feel more comfortable typing a message in rather than being like on camera and talking to somebody or feeling like they're interrupting something. So I'm excited about that this year too.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to that.
So any of the guests who attend our live viewing party, they are going to get access to all of the recordings, but will they still be able to connect with some of the other participants through these chat room? Like, probably not like the room where everybody's live, but can they still utilize the AI tool, go and see if there's any possible connections, still reach out to people via the chat?
Yeah, as long as they actually, as long as they register for the virtual event, they'll get the login credentials. Yeah. So you can even access it on your phone. So they can kind of have that up in the background and they'll have access to all those features. So they can still be engaged at like the live viewing parties and watch the presentations on a bigger screen and be networking in person, but still have access to that online platform, throw some messages into the chat. So as long as they register for the virtual platform as well, they'll be able to access virtually.
Oh, that's excellent. That's a great idea. And it also gives them a different, for some of the people who attend in person, I mean, essentially they're networking, right? Because they're there in person, but this is giving them sort of something else to focus on if they're not feeling quite so comfortable just at that moment, right? They are reaching out to other people, but in a better, safer, quieter way, other than putting it on themselves. Now, can you tell me how many people usually or typically would register for this event?
Yeah. So last year we had just over 4,600 people register, which was incredible. So that was my first year leading the event, and it was a 58% growth in attendance. So that was super exciting. Right now we have I think we're just about 1,900 people have registered. So with still just over a month to go before the event. And we have now confirmed at least someone from every single province, every territory in Canada, and I think 15 different countries as well, actually.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, really cool. That's
Congratulations.
Thank
you. Good for you. I just love that. This is going to be so fun. I'm so excited.
I'm also very excited.
I guess. Yeah.
How could you not be? I think this event, the StrikeUP Canada Conference, is such a great example of showing the role and the value that hosting events can be for your business, right? All these different opportunities to collaborate, establish partnerships. You're tapping into some cross-platform presence strategies, right? You're engaging with your audience and you're bringing new audiences in, and everybody is just kind of sharing and supporting and making so many new connections. And I love that so much about this conference. How do you keep the momentum going after the conference and maintain visibility and engagement with your audience and the new audience that you brought in?
Yeah, that's something that I definitely want to work on again this year. So this will be my second year as like a post event. So something that I want to get better at. But what we do have is our StrikeUP Connects webinars that are free events throughout the year. So we have lots of people that attend those. But one of my plans this year is to really try to spotlight some of the people that are attending StrikeUP throughout the year. We know we have so many incredible women entrepreneurs. What I want to try to do throughout the year is connect with women entrepreneurs that are there the day of the event that have really great businesses, really great stories, and see if we can do some spotlights on them throughout the year. Something that someone, just an attendee last year, did was they made a group on LinkedIn for all the StrikeUP attendees to just join.
I joined that group.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So we're looking at doing something like that this year. That's kind of like a StrikeUP created one, and we can kind of help keep it going throughout the year. But yeah, I mean, we really try to celebrate the wins through the conference. How many women entrepreneurs we were able to have join us. I really want to help. Like, I want to be able to be a resource for women entrepreneurs as well. So we can't do everything. We can't support women entrepreneurs in every way, but we have a huge network. Like, we have over 100 different ecosystem partners and sponsors that are all or mostly are focused on women entrepreneurship. So we want to keep sharing their programs, their services, their events that are coming up with our audiences as it's across the nation, to make sure that we're getting the word out there for services and supports for women. So that's going to be a big part of our like post-event campaign too, is I know we do one big event throughout the year, but we don't want to be silent and unhelpful throughout the rest of the year. So while we may not be able to be that direct support necessarily, we want to be able to point women in the direction of others that can.
That's great. Is there if we
and
have
the benefit to that too, though? Oh, sorry, Mel. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, if we have somebody that we meet through this event that's taking place in North Bay, can we recommend that they have a spotlight put on them, or send you some information because we think they're that would be a great value?
Yeah, I mean, I love to hear it. I love hearing these success stories, and I want to find ways that I can help use our platform to spread the word and kind of boost some visibility on their brands and their businesses. So yeah, please feel free to share.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, we'd love that. One of the things that we've started to notice is, well, we've been preparing to launch and launching, is that a lot of the women in Northern Ontario, especially in more of these rural areas, they're really struggling to get that visibility, right? And all of the opportunities, for speaking, facilitating workshops, all those things, it always seems to be centralized in the larger metropolitan areas. So that's one of the reasons why I was excited too for this event was it was an opportunity to possibly connect them with more people and increase their visibility as well. That's one of the biggest challenges that we have up in our area and probably throughout rural Canada across the whole nation is women are looking to be visible, and they're tired of just relying on social media. So what I love about what we're doing is we're kind of providing them with some more heart-centric type of suggestions or strategies to grow their audience and to be more visible. What advice might you give to somebody who's looking to leverage events specifically to enhance their personal or professional brand?
Yeah. So what I'd say is events like StrikeUP, where they are virtual. So we will always remain virtual so that people from Timmins, for example, are going to be able to access this like incredible programming that they just can't travel to Toronto and spend $1,000 on a gala ticket for something, right?
Yeah.
So having this opportunity to connect with women all across the country is important. So StrikeUp is a place where you can showcase yourself and your business. So what I find a lot of the entrepreneurs do during the conference is there's like a chat on the side during all the sessions, and people are throwing out like, I really resonate with that, or I have that same problem too. And maybe you can be a solution to that problem. So shout yourself out. Shout out somebody else that you may have worked with, a business that's helped you solve that problem. So you can position your business as a solution to some of these problems, or even position yourself as a connector. So people really want to connect with someone that's helpful, right? So if you can't help solve that problem and you can connect somebody with somebody else, I think that's really, really great. Like, networking can be almost like a mini elevator pitch, right? So I always encourage people kind of plan ahead what you think and how you want to position yourself in these events, because there's so many eyes on there, it really could benefit you. So, I mean, as much as we don't want like 1,000 different, just like people throwing just their like LinkedIn handle in the chat, for example, like I don't think that that's going to really help you really grow your business. It may help you get a bunch more connections, but are those going to be beneficial or helpful for your business truly? I think talk about your business and talk about your struggles and your wins. Like, people connect with what is real. So if you can kind of bounce off of the experiences that the speakers are talking about, which are going to be ever present in many of the attendees' lives, right? Like, these are all women entrepreneurs that have started from the bottom. They might also still be struggling right now. If you can kind of position yourself and how you have helped solve that problem, or how you've got tips or tricks, how you've come around that problem, even if it's not your business that has solved it, I think that's going to help people really want to learn more about you and your business in general.
Excellent advice. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm seeing is women are really good at helping other women in business.
Yes.
Everybody is so eager to let me connect you with this person, or I know somebody who can help you with that. And we jump right in there all the time to support each other in that capacity. It's so wonderful to see that. What about for the women who want to plan their own event and they want to host? You got any suggestions for them?
Yeah. So like, host a viewing party or host an event in general?
Anything. Yeah.
Anything other than just like a lot of wine to help you through it.
Yeah. I would say one of the most important things is, if you don't plan to do it 100% by yourself, bring in either people or organizations that are truly aligned with what you want to do, and know that there isn't like a sales pitch behind it. So that's really important. I think I've mentioned this earlier, is our sponsors for the event are what keep StrikeUP free for the attendees, and they're very important to us. But selecting who those partners are is very important. We don't want anything to be someone just selling a product. They're all focused on entrepreneurship. So they are financial institutions, or they're government organizations that are focused on exporting. They are supplier diversity councils. They are universities. Like, those are important, and those help us do what we do. So I think if you're going to jump in the world of event planning, make sure that you are aligning yourself with partners or supports, or if that's even vendors, but make sure that they align with what you're truly trying to get to, or what your goal is of your event. Because you don't want it to get too sales pitchy, and you want to make sure that you are connecting those attendees with someone who can actually truly help them in their business.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important is like, find a way to organize yourself. There are just so many details that can go in so many different directions, that like tracking everything is so key to what I do. So make sure you find some way to keep track of everything.
Or someone.
Or someone. Yeah, exactly. You're right though. Like
I was
if you're not doing it
that
yourself,
person who would organize stuff. So
yes.
I have a business buddy, and she'd always come to me and she's like, "No, I want to plan another event and I need you." And all I do for her is the back end. I just
Yeah.
organize, I do the spreadsheets, I keep the agendas, the itineraries, who's paid, blah blah blah. I keep all of that information together. And that
Yeah.
for her has been the greatest tool in her tool belt when doing events, because she doesn't have the capacity to do that. So you're right. I think it's important to recognize that if you want to host your own events, but maybe you're not feeling confident with all of the organization and the details that are required of it, find a business buddy who might be more organized and willing to offer their time to help support you in that way. And definitely the collaborators, supporters, and all of that. It's so much easier when you have a team of support behind you, and it also builds your trust and credibility too, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And it allows those that really are wanting to plan those events because they're passionate about it. It allows them to focus on the creativity part of
Mhm.
it and let somebody else handle the details. And that's going to make a great event, right? Like you sometimes you need help, right? I mean, I'm the first to admit, I could never ever pull off StrikeUP just by myself. Like there is not a chance that could ever happen. So I'm allowed to do what I do is like I'm a planner, I'm all the details, but there's other people that in the back end that are helping me execute. And you have to use the strength of others. You can't be everything at all times, right?
And I think recognizing what your own strength is when you're doing these events, because I joke with Melissa all the time that I'll say to her, like, we're partners. You're not working by yourself. It's okay that you give me something, right? So but it's hard when you're used to doing things on your own. And that's part of it, letting go and the trust issue. But you're right, like as soon as you recognize that though, and you find the right people, I mean, you would hope that things kind of fall in place and the weight should be at least
Shared.
reduced.
Yeah.
Right, so if we can get there, then that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
No, well, Melissa and I are in the process of planning an event and it's taking place next week. But it's interesting because we both have different strengths and we're trying to really bounce off of each other so that we can use them appropriately. Otherwise, we're just either doing the same thing at the same time, or or nothing is being done because neither of us thought of it. So it's a bit of a learning curve for us right now, but I can appreciate the fact that we need to recognize what's important to us and what we can handle and what we're good at, and then finding that other person who can help us. So that's really good advice. I think anybody who plans events can resonate with that. I think people who plan events, they're very detail oriented. They like to plan, but they may not like the actual, talking to people, securing sponsors, securing any contractors. That might not be their thing. So, so that's a really big, important lesson for everybody who's out there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
what do you love the most about what you do?
What do I love the most? I think the thing I love the most is, honestly, the day after StrikeUP, I feel like I'm in a daze because well, first off, I'm exhausted. Secondly,
it's like a hangover.
It is.
Honestly, but it's like an emotional hangover because I'm just in awe of how, like you said this earlier, women want to help other women, and they like StrikeUP is you'll always go to events where there's going to be someone that's negative, but we have been like overwhelmingly had so much positivity during StrikeUP, like seeing those connections being built, people being like, I like spilling their hearts, being like, what the speaker just said, like, I feel that so hard and I connect with that. And it feels so great to know that I'm not alone in this. And just kind of hearing the stories of these women entrepreneurs and like the messages of outpouring of how much people appreciate it and the connections that I see online. Like, I see people that are connecting on LinkedIn after and what they're doing together. And it's like, that is incredible. So it's like that connection piece of those entrepreneurs that join and kind of where that takes them down the road, I think is the best piece. I mean, I love working with the incredible women on speakers that we have. Like, hearing their stories is also so great. Like, they are so open and willing to share all of their struggles. And it's like, it's really, really great to see. Like, they are not guarded. They'll tell you the nitty-gritty of like places that they've struggled. And it's really powerful. And it's really great. Like, yeah, it's just like the storytelling. All of it is like absolutely my favorite.
There's something to be said about sharing experiences with one another, right? Because we so often go on social media, we see the perfect pictures, we see the pre-scripted films, we see people who are succeeding and doing well and thriving and smiling. And then there's a whole group of us back here who are just like pulling our hair out and thinking they make it look so damn easy.
Yeah.
And especially the more visible you are and the more high profile you are, right? I think the more people think they have it all together, right? But I think we often fail to remember that they have had those challenges. They were just resilient enough to be able to continue and to push forward and to pursue those dreams and those passions of theirs. And I think that's where the inspiration comes from, when we realize, oh, they did have a hard time. They did struggle with this. They're having the same experience that they had the same experience that I'm having now, right? Which kind of ties into the theme for the StrikeUP Canada Conference this year, which is redefining resiliency. What about you, Heather? What about any experiences with yourself and failures or and finding that resiliency within yourself? Do you have a story that you would want to share with us?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like I'm the type of person that's very self-critical, very hard on myself, very like, if there's any tiny little mistake, I will beat myself up over it when other people may not even notice it. Like, other people's 100%, sometimes to me that's like not enough. Like, if I were to do that, I'm like, I would be anxious and terrified. And I got myself to a place in my last role where I just got myself to like a dark place professionally. I was unhappy with what I was doing. I felt no matter how much I was praised at work for like my accomplishments, it never felt enough to me because it wasn't the right fit. And I realized that now. It wasn't, I wasn't failing at my job. I was really good at my job, but I felt like I was, because I didn't feel like at the end of the day, I was accomplishing what I felt like I needed to do. So really taking that leap of faith and quitting my corporate job. This was in the middle of, the beginning of COVID too. It was summer of 2020. When I quit that corporate job. That was a scary time. Like, nobody knew what was going to happen. And I like was not technically in a financial position to be able to not work either. So it was like, you got to pull your bootstraps out. You got to figure it out. I was going to go back to school to be in HR, and I landed the role that I'm in the day I was about to submit my application to go back to school. So
again, thank you, universe.
yeah, exactly. It's just, I think sometimes you just need to do, which I needed to do, was some self-reflecting. Like, why did I feel like I was failing? I wasn't failing. I was doing an incredible job at work, but it was my own fears, my own anxiety, because what I was doing didn't feel right naturally. It didn't align with my values. And yeah, it was a really, really scary time. But I mean, I've turned it around. Obviously, I found this incredible position where I've jumped up the ladder quite quickly. And now I get to do what I do. And it's, the best thing that could have happened.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Now, did you have something to say? Everyone just went frozen.
No, I thought that was fantastic. Like, it really, you made me think of that when you said that, because I too, I struggle with this. Like, am I doing this the right way? This is very new to me. This is uncomfortable. It's not, if I wanted to go back to work, I could have just hopped into a law firm and, moved on, and everything would have been the same and it would have been easy. This is not easy. So I am very, very critical. I'm very insecure and I feel very vulnerable. But I feel also that by doing it with Melissa, she's at least, she's guiding me in the right direction, but she's got my back no matter what happens. Right. So I think that maybe you're right. Like, maybe those years, when I was working at the law firm where I feel like I did a great job, but it was never enough. It wasn't good enough. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's just not what I was supposed to be doing. Right. Like, I think everybody finds their way. It just, sometimes, like me, it just takes a little longer, right? And then I am very much a people person, and which I thrived in working with clients, and we did family law. So that was, it was such a rewarding piece of like a job for me, is helping children in our community, but it was also very stressful. And I find now that I'm able to reach out, I'm finding more and more women have a story that brought them to where they're at. And I'm really enjoying learning about that, because I feel like it's something I have in common with people that I didn't realize was actually out there. So I too feel, even though some days are a little harder, that this is where we're supposed to be as well. And I'm hard on myself, but I don't feel like, I'm not going to bed thinking, oh, well, maybe this week we did. This week was a hard week for Melissa and I, but I'm not going to lie. But, there's a fast turnaround at least now. So it does, right? So I really love that you said that, because I think a lot of women feel that way. And maybe it's what brought them to where they're supposed to be right now, which is, coming with us and us helping them find their voices. And like Melissa said, we're isolated. We don't have the same opportunities. So if we can shine a light on some of these ladies who have these amazing stories, I think that's it's just lifting one more person up. Right. So, and that's what is rewarding to us. So
yeah, I think it all comes back to that, like, almost like that key word people are always talking about, like imposter syndrome, right? Like, whether you agree with that's a thing or not, I mean, I feel it, especially, I mean, we've talked about this. I don't have a formal background in event planning, but I have a background in project management. I have a background in working with people, and you can kind of use those skills and transform them in different ways. So I think that's something else people should think about. So if you're feeling like it might be time for you to make a change in business and personal life, I think if you take some time to like really think about what your key skills are and where you want to go, I think you can fit most skills into almost any role, right? It's just, you have to be creative about it.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree so much. I had something and now I lost it. It's gone. It went away. Yeah. That maple whiskey is getting the best of me. I know it's gone. It's totally gone.
Reason why we get along so well.
Sorry. I tried to claim that one back, but it's gone.
I have a question. I'll ask a question while you think about it. I have a question. Please do take it. So next month when we do StrikeUP, as you mentioned, we are doing our talk show at the same time, like in the afternoon that day. We've got these great producers that we have partnered with, and they're just so great for us and very supportive. But our topic for our talk show is going to be failures and resiliency. And I was wondering if you had a failure that you can laugh at this moment that you can share. And it doesn't have to be like a huge failure.
Like, oh, shit.
Sorry. I've got so many. I can pass one along to you if you really need.
I've got a ton of failures too. Getting your life insurance license and then just not doing anything with it.
And then, yeah.
Oh my
Failed out of
gosh.
college. Like, I got a bunch.
Oh, yeah. There's so many.
Oh,
Summer
wow.
of 2000.
Oh yeah, anything on MySpace in general, I think. Did I
Or
say
Facebook
myself?
from 2006 to 2008.
Yeah, I get the flashback memories, and I'm like, ooh, wow.
Yeah,
Is that the same
we don't have
person?
to go into like personal failure. Like, you have to do that. I'll give you an example. Melissa and I went to the SAS North conference in Ottawa this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 3 speakers on the stage from different areas, and I have to tell you, like, it was the funniest room to go into, because they said at the time, of course, things were serious and they were like so upset, but then the stories and the way they told them, we were just like dying, and they were laughing and we were laughing, and people could relate, and it was just so refreshing to be able to step out after and say, oh, okay, somebody else is like, gone through all of these things, and now they're laughing about it and sharing this story with us. And whether or not we can find people like that for our talk show, I don't know. It just may be Melissa and I voicing all of our failures on the table at our talk show. It could just be all about us, but I think that everybody's
We
got
have
something
enough to build up a whole show.
Maybe that's how we'll get more sponsors. You never know.
Really?
Like, you don't know.
Well, honestly, like I feel like I've had so many that I'm like somehow just completely stumped by this question.
Which one do I choose?
How long now? Really, like how long do we have left? Well, okay. In my past role, like I said, I used to do risk analysis. It was all like fraud audits. So how I communicated is we always had a fake like alias name that we would reach out with to people. So we always picked something that was like, my name's Heather, so my alias name was Hannah, because it was like it was easy to remember for the team. So I was so awkward once. For some reason, like I knew my CEO very well. It was a smaller company, but he started talking about this Hannah in front of the company in a meeting that I was in, and I had to be like, put like a blank face on and like, act like it wasn't me. And he's talking to me about this Hannah, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's crazy. She did that. Like, I can't believe that she did. She said that. Hannah said that. I don't know who that is.
Hannah was wrong.
Hannah.
I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone ever clued him in that it was me and not.
I may not have included if you was talking about me. I might have been like, "Hey, Hannah, what are you doing?"
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, ooh, Hannah, not a good move. Not a good move, Hannah."
No, we need to get rid of Hannah.
Yeah, but don't look too closely into it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you left her and were like, "Oh, thank God, like it's over," right? Nobody realized.
Yeah.
I think having these moments and having these failures are so important, because they teach us so much. Maybe not in the moment, but certainly
it's never in the moment.
A lifetime. And I think back to the big ones of like failing out of college, right? And then I'm like, but you know what? If that didn't happen, none of the other things would have happened, because I would have been going down a completely different career path and living in a different city, right? So what I often find myself doing in those moments, I ask myself, how big of a deal is this? Like, if in 5 years from now, a year from now, am I still going to feel this way about it? And if that answer is no, why am I holding on to this feeling? I should just pick up, learn from the experience, and continue moving on. One of the things that Mel and I have always been, what I'm so proud of us for doing, is we've always just been open to so many opportunities. We've had a very loose plan of what we want to do. Every time a new opportunity
That
would
may
come
be our
up,
failure. The loose plan.
sometimes they worked, sometimes they don't. But we
Yes.
always learn from them, and we keep going, and we're getting stronger, and we're getting braver with the things that we're doing and we're exploring. So yeah, it's shitty when those moments happen and we beat ourselves up and we feel awful, and maybe there's really big circumstances that come out of that. Maybe we lose a job or whatever that might be, but it's because it's the beginning of something new that's going to come out for us. And if we focus our mindset and our energy on the possibilities that are ahead of us, I think it can help us move forward from that and find more confidence in what we do in our future endeavors, right? But anyways, look at that. We made it through a whole hour, ladies.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was such a great chat. Oh my goodness, Heather, I'm so grateful for you. And it was so lovely to finally meet you.
It was so nice to meet you. Yes.
Oh,
I tell
thank you to the
I'll
both of
meet
you.
you on a patio in Coburg at some point.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah. You let me know when you're in town. I'll find the best one for us.
Okay, I'm all
Awesome.
over this. But yes, we are so grateful that you joined us and we got to know you better. Like I said, we're very excited and we're really grateful we have this opportunity coming up next month, and it's going to be so fun. And Melissa and I are just like in the weeds planning all of this stuff, and we're so excited.
Tickled.
Like it's going to be a good event. Yeah, I agree.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so grateful for the two of you to do this. Like I said, there's no way that I could have an event happen in North Bay by myself. So it's really, really like this building of community that is like really the essence of StrikeUP. And like, yeah, like it wouldn't happen without people like you and helping to build those connections. I appreciate you both so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. For anybody watching, I did put links in the chat. So there is a link to StrikeUP Canada's website where you can learn more about the StrikeUP conference. You can sign up if you want to be viewing it live from the comfort of your own home. Or if you're in the North Bay area, there's also a link. You can go and register for the live viewing party, which is happening at Canada College with the support of the Business Center, Nipissing Perry Sound. So grateful for all of the supporters for this. We wouldn't be able to do the event. And thank you, StrikeUP Canada and Heather, for having this opportunity and giving it to us and letting us just run with it. We're so honored. Thank you again for being here. Heather, we'll chat with you soon, I'm sure. Everybody who's watching or who has watched, thank you so much for being here tonight. And have a good night, everybody.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Have a good night.